Every word has a beginning, middle, and end. Just like every sentence. Just like every paragraph and every story. My speaking teacher taught me this before I gave my graduation speech, as he wanted to make sure that I'm pronouncing my words and not just trying to speed by the speech just to get out of there. So when I was practicing my speech, I was saying things like, at 16, I started my first business, Diseño Web Designs. I took my sales calls at the back corner, completed my service delivery at that back table, and invested the money I made back into the business. And he paused me after the first sentence and said, slow down, pronounce every word. Every word has a beginning, middle, and end. Therefore, with every word, you can tell a story based off of how you pronounce it and what emotions you want to drag from that word. And so I started again, slower. And he wanted me to really over-exaggerate the words I say, because on stage, when I over-exaggerate, it'll look like I'm speaking normal. So he practiced with me and he said, at 16, I started my own business, Diseño Web Designs. I took my sales calls in the closet next to Willie's room, completed my service delivery at that back table, and invested the money I made back into the business. What started as a small venture turned into my current business, Black Beam Designs, where I build websites for roofing companies. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Well, I thought it was interesting, one, because there were some kids at the school that didn't like the speaking teacher, as they didn't believe that he knew what he was talking about. But based off of my interaction with him, it was very helpful, as he wanted me to make sure that I pronounce every single word, and that with each word, I could tell a story with. Just based off of how I say it, and based off of how I say it, an emotion can be tied with the words, instead of just trying to speed through it. And with that, intuitively, I'll be giving pauses, because when I say something, so say like, at that back table, pause. That means a little more than just saying at that back table and invested the money I made back into the business. It's so fast that they forget the things that you say, but after you pause after something, and a meaningful pause. I mean, sometimes you'll forget what you're saying and you'll pause, and they may remember the last thing you said, but you want to make sure it's a meaningful pause. So you say something, little pause, doesn't have to be exaggerated, nor too short, just normal. And then you go on to the next thing and make sure you're not rushing your words. I think I did pretty well on that in my graduation speech. And afterwards, I was getting a lot of compliments. And then, as I said, the head of the school came up to me. But one more thing I wanted to note that I was just thinking about was, well, there's one thing before that. The hand movements, I only did a couple. I did when I said, and I want to thank Richie and Dr. Newhall for creating this amazing school that provided me, when I say me, I usually always point to me with my right hand or left. It doesn't really matter. I usually do my right. That provided me with the opportunity to learn this skill, to learn this lesson and share it with you. I'm giving. Somebody that I learn from a lot every Sunday when I go to church. If you want to learn from him as well, I think he's the pastor for the whole entire franchise of the church, but it's called LCBC. So I'm trying to remember what it stands for. LCBC. Yeah, no clue. I thought it was saving lives, but the S is after the L, so I'll give you that. But anyways, maybe living something, I don't know. But LCBC. And it's interesting because the first time I went there, it was weird because the pastor wasn't speaking right in front of us. So after we did the music and the singing, the pastor's on this big screen, and all the satellite campuses of the church, so we go to a satellite one, they all live stream the main one, which is interesting, but it's pretty cool, I guess, because once you find that one person that speaks really well and explains it, then just share it with all your churches. Why try and find, I think they got 49 locations. Why try and find 49 great speakers when you can find one amazing one? It's just the people you have in your business. But anyways, immediately when I saw him for the first time, I was like, damn, I want to learn from him how to speak, because just like myself, but he does it 100 times better, which is just little things. First of all, he doesn't look nervous at all. Neither do I. But his hand movements seem more deliberate. So he's going like this, this, this. He goes like this sometimes. He moves around, walking more. After graduating speech, I was on a podium, so I had to stand there a bit. But anyways, and then he'll read the passage on the screen. He'll pause and he said, let me read that again. Whatever it is, and then I'll read it. And I'm like, I always wonder if he practices his speeches or not. But either way, it flows so well. I don't think I've ever heard him, maybe once, say It's around 45 minutes, I think, or 30 minutes of him just talking. But that's a guy I take notes from. And when he's doing the movements, so say he's doing like this and like this, it feels a little awkward, but I just copy exactly what he's doing when sitting down. The first couple of times I did it, I was a little nervous. I was like, this is a little strange, because my parents and my brother were sitting right next to me, one of my brothers. I was like, nah, just do it. I'm not nervous anymore. And then I'm basically practicing it to hopefully put it in my mind so that when I am speaking, I can do a similar movement. And it's just like that. Because that's where I got the me from, when I point to myself like this. Although it's so simple and so natural, because you're just pointing to yourself, me. That's something I do. I haven't done this one in a speech yet. But also, I haven't done a speech too often, because in high school, I think I said this in another video, I only did 2 presentations, which is so interesting. Because the years before that, I had history class. And we would do presentations maybe every other week, which was really great practice. Maybe not every other week, but every 3 weeks. But it was still very often. Then in high school, I think I did it in the first couple of weeks in school for English class. And then in English class, we did a mini debate, just a 1v1. It wasn't really a debate. You actually basically had your script right there, as you do in 11th grade. And and even before that, you were basically helping out your opponent or your classmate, helping him to say what he can say against me, what I'll say against him. So you already knew what you were going to say. So it wasn't the best thing, but then the graduation speech was the main one. Definitely the main point of this, first main point was, every single word has a beginning, middle, and end, based off of how you say it. Based off of how you say it can give an emotion, but also you have to make sure that you pronounce it. You pronounce it, and you're not just speeding by saying your script or saying what you want to say in your mind as quickly as possible. Kind of like I did right there. It was pretty quick. But also, it doesn't mean you have to speak extremely slow. Well, you just have a cadence. Change it up. Second one was the hand movements. So make sure you're not just standing still, robotic. You're moving, you're flowing, speaking to the audience. Also keeps them more engaged. And then thirdly, finding someone to learn from. Whether that be in person, like I go to the church and I see that guy, or if it's online, a YouTuber you're watching or some type of podcast, whatever it is. And then you just practice their movements. And sometimes when the pastor says something, I'll say it back to kind of just practice how he says it. But those are the things I do. This can help. Perfect.